Hey, it's Rich, the Louisiana Hobby Guy. Today we've got a special episode for you. We've got a special guest coming on and who's going to talk to us about his layered designs. And then we're going to take some time and actually make some layered designs from scratch. We're going to do 3 designs today, 2 different types of earrings, and then we're going to recreate the Mother's Day plaque that I made that was so popular. So it's going to be an exciting episode today. So let's jump into it and get started right now. All right, folks. So we have a special guest tonight, Keith Schlotthauer. Keith is the administrator for the Facebook group, Louisiana Hobby Guy Facebook group, which is also called the Lightburn group, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome aboard, Keith. How are you doing today?
Good. Thanks, Rich, for having me.
My pleasure. Great to have you here. So today we've been talking about multi-layered projects, and your projects came up because you sent me a couple of your states last week when I asked you to, and I've done a couple of them that I've got back here on the laser. I'm going to show everybody in just a little bit, and they really came out super. I'm so happy with them. But I think one of the things that the audience doesn't know is that you're the moderator over at my Facebook group.
Absolutely, yes.
So the Facebook group is all about lightburn and advice and settings and things like that. So Keith, tell our audience a little bit about what goes on there in the Facebook group.
It's Lightburn. I've been a member of your group for just about a year now, and I think I've watched some of your videos, and I'm like, hey, I'm interested, and I joined up with your forum group that you have as well, and I contributed some files there. This is when I had my K4. I was still using my K40. I've since progressed to a more powerful machine, but basically the job as a moderator is I think I relieve Rich and the other admin from accepting people, and I look at people and I see what kind of groups they're in. Sometimes I hold off on a little bit because they haven't answered the questions. If they're invited by somebody, I'm like, yeah, they're cool. And if I recognize them from other groups, they're cool. If not, I think I probably just wait for you guys to accept them. And I'm like, I'm not going to touch those people.
Sometimes I just I'll let them sit there because they don't answer the questions,
Yeah, exactly.
And the questions are really important.
They're very easy.
So how do you think this group compares to the other laser groups that are on Facebook?
I'm glad you asked that because that was actually one of the questions I was thinking about even before, you and I talked. And I belong to probably 4 or 5 different OMTech. They're mainly OMTech groups, right? Since that's a type of laser I have. And to be quite honest with you, those groups are more complaining groups. Well, I can't get my mirrors aligned. What do I do? I'm going to sell my system. I can't get this to work, blah, blah, blah. And then there's those people that, they come across as like, unless you have a 1.2 gigawatt, tri-gigawatt system that can speak to the, can shoot beams to Mars and back, you're not a professional. But you have a lot of people in those groups that do complain, and I do try to help out people, because I was in their shoes at one time. I was like, even when I joined your group, exactly. And I've learned a lot from your videos, and then I've taken that and taught myself a little bit more as well. But our group here, your group, the Louisiana Hobby Guy group, it seems more constructive. I mean, people are showing their stuff. They're showing, and instead of people saying, hey, can I buy your files, which people do, it's like, well, how did you do that? What was your technique? And along with your videos, people say, hey, look at Rich, I created this, based on your stuff. So I come from a family of teachers, and I enjoy that. I enjoy, teaching, helping, learning more than I do teaching or helping out. So,
well, sometimes teaching is learning.
This is true.
There's that old saying: we teach what we most need to learn.
Exactly, and I think if anybody claims to know everything, they're lying. I think if anybody claims to know everything, they're lying. And I think if anybody claims to know everything, they're lying. And I think if anybody claims to know everything, they're lying. And I think if anybody claims to know everything, they're lying. And I think if anybody claims to know everything, I think they're doing a disservice to themselves. You know,
and,
the one
and
thing,
others. Yeah.
and others. And the one thing I got out of one of your videos, and I remember this, it was probably 3 or 4 months one, is the help button in lightburn.
Yes.
Use the help button.
The F1 video, the famous F1 video.
Exactly. It'll teach you everything, you know,
Yeah.
type in everything. Because Oz at Lightburn, you know, those guys have got, I mean, I do documentation for a living, you know, amongst other stuff. And it's pretty well written. You know, if you can't find it there, then
I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
I think they did a fantastic job on the
exactly.
website.
And if you can't find the answer in the help, then you're not looking in the right area.
Exactly.
And I'm also into the belief of try, because you're not going to break the system. Yeah, right. you may waste a little bit of material, but you know, don't be embarrassed to ask questions.
Sure.
And don't get offended if somebody says, well, you have to do this.
Right.
Because that's the way you're going to learn. And again, I mean, I've only been doing lasering for about 2.5, maybe almost, will be 3 years in December. And I've learned so much.
So as a new user now, you know, you do these really nice, or you've done these really nice state designs. And as a new user, how did you get into or decide to do these layered graphics like you do?
Actually, it came about, probably about a little over a year ago. My wife and I were planning on going on a Disney cruise, but it got canceled due to the pandemic and everything.
Yeah.
And we had joined up with another Facebook group, you know, that for our particular sailing. And you make little things, you join a group and then you make, you know, little trinkets or whatever, you know, buy stuff for other people. Right. Well, I decided, well, I'm going to make little, you know, laser engraved coasters or ornaments or something like that. And I had seen a video, I believe, of layered stuff. And I'm like, well, how do they do that? You know, because I always thought 2D, you know, flat, you know, everything is flat, everything is engraved. I didn't think of putting dimension in it. So I just kind of played around with it, and I did some Star Wars ones, of all things, of some characters. I'm like, oh, you know, that's kind of cool. And everybody's like, oh, those things are great. And the funny thing about those, I only made like 4 or 5 of them. And then my first craft fair last year, my wife says, you should take them. I'm like, nobody's going to buy these. She's like, just take them. Guess what was one of the first things that sold? The Star Wars. The Star Wars. So that kind of got me hooked after that. Then all of a sudden I started making layered everything, you know, so I got a bunch of layered stuff.
So how do you create, do you do these layered designs in Lightburn?
Yes, I do. Well, obviously I don't have the copyright on the shape of the states. That happened in 250 years ago. Right. So I found the different shapes on just Googling it, and I take them in. Obviously they're PNGs or they're bitmaps or they're GIFs or whatever. I right mouse, copy them, drop them into Lightburn, and then I do I do a right click, and then I do a trace, and I adjust it to get the trace. Then once I get the trace, you know, of the outer state, and then to get on my particular designs, I have 3 layers. I have a border, which has the name on it, and then I have the flag, and then I have the base. So the base is the first thing, and then I just offset it, because I like to design from big. So these are about 4 inches tallish around that time, but I usually design like 10 inches, you know, so I can get in there. So I offset it a certain amount, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever it is on my size. And then that's a second layer. Then I copy and paste that, you know, or I duplicate it, move it over. And then I found a nice wavy flag on Google as well. And I just dropped it in on top of that layer.
That's a second layer.
As a second layer. And then I did a Boolean, you know, connection. I can't remember which one it is. It's the one that looks like, it's the third one down usually. And I just attached it to the sides and I made sure that it was, you know, attached to the sides. And then that was the second layer. And then the third layer, which or the top layer, was the state, you know, the bottom layer, actually, I'm sorry, the bottom layer, the solid one was
That's just a blank.
That's just the base. So it's a 3-layer. And I usually use, when I've cut these out, it's like the one you see in the background here. That's Arizona, which I'm actually in California, but Arizona, that's one of my favorite looking ones. It's about 1/8 inch material, so you're looking at about 3/8 of an inch thick after you glue them all together. On my page, as you can see right there, I do have some that I painted. And
now, for those of you that don't know, I just put it up on the screen. Keith does have an Etsy shop, and I know that, you know, the States are probably one of the most or the biggest sellers at craft shows when you do your own state, or for those of you that are working online, when you're selling other states, people love to have a state plaque hanging on the wall in the state that they live in. And now I had a question about your Etsy store.
Sure.
So now my experience with Etsy is I get about two, maybe 3 files out of 10 that actually work. And I don't actually buy them off Etsy, but I get people that send them to me and say, hey, can you fix them? You know, so your files are all, you've cut all of these yourself. You've done all of these yourself. They're guaranteed working.
Yes. Because obviously if you look at my Etsy page, you'll see that I have all 50 states there. Plus I have a bundle package, but in order to take the pictures of the states, I actually had to cut them. And it took a little while to do. Some of them I had to go back and do, because again, this was kind of a test for myself as well, to make sure that all the pieces were connected. And I think I had one state where I didn't have the flag welded properly and it fell out. So, but that was kind of like a quality check, a quality assurance. Like, okay, I know that these work. I did have an incident came up earlier in the week where somebody bought one, and I know I talked to you about it, and you kind of posed the same, like, hey, Keith, this happened. And I think it was because my description in my Etsy page wasn't as clear, that I include 2 different files. I include one, as you see here, which is the welded version, meaning that the state is welded, the name of the state is welded to the outside of the shape of the state. And then I have another one that the state name can just float around and put wherever you want. And I think people are the person that misunderstood that they cut it, so it actually cut it out itself along with the state, so it didn't attach.
I see.
So they didn't weld it back. So I had to go back, and I think I may have done it on, I can't remember if I've done it on all the states.
I think this is this the one, Texas, that you sent me? I think that's
I sent you Texas, Wyoming, and Louisiana as well.
So these are all, you have all 50 states in here.
I do.
So I see that,
as well as some other things too.
California is only $1.99.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, like it should be about $50 because everything's expensive in California.
That should be the most expensive one.
Yeah.
So there's some painted designs here. That looks really nice. The Texas one. I like that.
It does.
And the Alaska. These come out really good. You don't. I'm sure you don't have painted examples of every single one of these, though.
No, it's believe it or not, Rich, that is actually a longer process than cutting them out, because you got to paint them and then you got to mask them. You know, like for example, if you scroll up a little bit so you can see the Alaska or the California clearly, what I scroll down. Yeah, so what I did is, like, for the top layer, which has the state name, is I painted the whole thing white, and then I masked off where everything but the state name, and then I painted the state name black or red, as you see there. And then the second layer with the flag, I painted that whole layer red and let it dry, and then I masked off where the stripes are on the flag, and then I painted that part blue, and then the bottom part is white to give the stars the whiteness.
I see.
But the great thing with these files that you can paint them whatever color you want.
Yeah.
That's the great thing. You can be as creative. I just did patriotic since we're coming up to 4th of July.
So now I'm going to guess that you can probably, as far as thickness goes, you can probably use any thickness you want, because it shouldn't affect this type of file, should it?
Exactly, because it's a vector file, and you can go as big as your laser will allow. I mean, if you have a diode, I haven't used my diode in about 2.5 years. It was just a 3 watt, so that might be a little more of an issue. I don't know. Right. I had my K40, and as you know, that's 8.5 by 12 space, right. And these would absolutely cut in there. Okay. So that's the beauty with vectors. You can go from small all the way to as big as your laser will allow.
Right. Okay. And do you have like a bundled price if somebody wanted to buy all 50 of these?
Yeah, I do. It's actually a pretty good price, because if you take, say $3 instead of $2.99, if you take $3 times 50 states, you got $150. But right. If you buy all 50 states in one bundle package, it's $79.99, which that's almost 50% off. So okay. I think it's a great bargain. When I design stuff, it's kind of a labor of love. I enjoy designing. I've been doing design work for 38 years in one way or another, and this is just another extension of my creativity.
Right. Well, that explains it right there.
Exactly.
It seems like everyone that does the designs for this, for the laser, has some sort of design background.
Yeah, it does. So. And with lightburn, it's so easy to design. I mean, because I have access to Illustrator and Photoshop. I use SolidWorks for my CAD program. I use it for work, so I have access to it. I mean, I've been doing AutoCAD, Pro E, MicroStation, everything for 38 years. So I do have that design experience. But what this is outside that. And right. It's nice to be able to create something and actually see it to fruition, to see
and it's in a vector environment.
Yes, and exactly. But like with lightburn, all these designs were done 100% in lightburn, other than the actual image itself, where I pulled it from free sites on Google, and that's everything.
And that's what we're discussing today, is creating these designs. And we're going to take your process and we're going to do that step by step, with something else. But, I wanted to bring Keith on today for a couple of reasons. Number one, to help promote his store. Number two, to introduce you all to him, being that you go over to the Lightburn Facebook group. And number three, to explain his process. So his process is going to be our process, and that's what we're going to finish discussing today, is creating these we're doing something different today, but creating these layered designs in Lightburn, quick and easy, so that anybody can do this. But I want you all to just stop over at Keith's store, and I'll put that back up on the screen, one more time. I'll also put a link down in the description. Just pass over there, take a look at it, even if it's only to get an idea of, how to do this. Maybe you'll see your state, maybe you'll want to make your own home state, and for $2.99, I mean, you absolutely can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So.
The one thing I do want to add with designs that I see, and I did buy a design from something off of Etsy. And as you can see over here, you have, right there, you have like the O and the R. The one thing that's important, and I bought this file, and when I cut it out, it was a big circle. There was nothing. So the one thing that's very important, whether it's, my designs, I have them all welded together, so it connects. But if you're doing designs, especially with letters that have, you know, like the R, the A, so if you didn't cut it out right, I always put a rib in there. So I'll draw well, let's see right here. I'll draw a space, you know, like a line using the rectangle tool straight down. Same with the R, I'll go down. That way you're not going to lose anything. And people aren't going to say, huh, you know, what letter is that supposed to be? Especially with a lot of the script text. That's a big one.
And another thing that we're going to cover here today as well is the old stencil trick, which is just putting a line through the letters. Yes, that connects all the way through. So you know, that's another option. You can either connect the letters themselves, or you can put a line right through the middle that connects them all. You know, like the old army stencils. Right.
Well, and that's what I did on here. In fact, I typed out the state name or whatever, and whatever, I can't remember what font this was. This might have been Clarendon, or it might have been Copperplate. I can't remember. It was obviously it was spaced. Each letter was spaced. So I used the vertical, or the vertical, was it the vertical? Yeah, the horizontal tool in lightburn next to the font to bring them all in to where they were touching.
Right.
And then on the top in lightburn, there's those three functions. If everybody doesn't know, is you have bold, welded, italic, or whatever. So in so I just use the welded. So as soon as I hit yes, it welded all the letters together, and then I just had to weld them to the sides.
Yeah, that's I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna be bringing that up in the video, but most people don't realize there's that weld button up there for text. And also you can change the spacing on it. You can make the letters closer or wider apart, and you get some interesting results when you play with those controls.
Exactly.
So, and that's what this whole video is about today, is learning the controls in lightburn, learning how to do the letters, and learning how to do the layers. So I want to thank you, Keith, for coming on today.
No problem. I appreciate it, Rich.
Yeah, it was our pleasure. I'm sure our viewers are going to be scrambling to get over to that Etsy store and pick up their home state. I hope everybody goes out and picks up a home state. Let's, you know, support our other people that are in the industry. And, you know, Keith has been a great supporter of mine. And I want to make sure that my viewers, if you're going to, you know, be buying a state emblem, a layered state emblem, I'd love for you to get it from Keith. So
and I do appreciate it.
Okay, so Keith, again, I thank you for coming on the show, and maybe we'll have you on again sometime when you get some more designs in the shop.
Absolutely. And my Etsy store is I'm just now starting to add stuff. I've got a lot of other designs I've worked on with inspiration from my wife, kind of nudging me on, saying you should do this, you should do that. So I have some more coming on. It's just I wish there was 25 hours in the day to do stuff. So, but I do appreciate your page, Rich, because, you know, not just as a moderator, I am a user. I know that. Yeah. And I've learned so much. In fact, I'm going to buy some bamboo pins and I'm going to do some of those.
Fantastic.
So I do appreciate all what you contribute to this community, not just our community here, but just lasering community altogether.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate your contributions as well. All right, folks. So let's go ahead and get into those layered designs now that we've, you know, seen some of the basics, and, you know, we've met an actual designer, and maybe you go and buy one file and take that file apart and learn from it. But let's go step by step right now in how to create these things. Let's jump over into lightburn. Okay, so a big thank you to Keith for that interview, and I hope some of you all take advantage of his layered states. I know I'm absolutely loving the ones that he sent me. The Louisiana one, I'm definitely going to hang that one up on the wall. So let's get started with some basics. We're just going to do two projects today. The first one we're going to do are going to be some, I guess, called leaf earrings, and then the second one that we're going to do is down over here. This is a project from Mother's Day. I'm going to show you how I designed that one. That one's 3 layers. So let's go ahead and start and grab a primitive over here. We're going to grab the ellipse, and we're going to start with the earrings, and we're going to draw out the ellipse like so. Let's put that on the black layer. so it's easier to see. And so now we've got our lips. We're going to select it. I'm going to go for a size here. I really don't know what ladies' earrings should be, but I'm going to guess that probably 2.5 inches, maybe at the most, something like that. Okay, so we'll set that to 2.5 inches to get started. We're going to bring this in like so, and we're going to come over here to left side where it says Node Edit. Click on that. We're going to come up here to Edit. We're going to come down here to Convert to Path. See that? If I don't want to. Right here is Convert to Path. So we're going to do Convert to Path, and that now gives us our 4 nodes that we're going to work with here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom way in. I'm going to grab this smoothing handle, and I'm going to bring it all the way up to where that circle is, and I'm going to do the same thing for this one because I don't want that to be smoothed. Okay, and then I'm going to repeat that process on the bottom. We're going to do the same thing here. Going to bring these in because we don't want these smoothed, and there is the beginning of our earring. So this is layer 1. Now we have layer 1 of our earring. We're going to need to create 3 different layers because we're making a 3-layered earring. And I would suggest that you probably use 1mm wood for this because you just don't want it to be too heavy. I'm just going to bring this in just a little bit like that, and that's it. We're done with the first layer. Now what we're going to do is press Control and the letter D, and you'll see these Vegas lights go out because we have another copy of it on top there now. I'm going to hold the Control button. I'm going to click the corner down here and drag this up to about that size right there. And now I'm going to zoom way in up here. I'm going to drag this one up. Hold down Control now so I have fine control of the dragging. And I'm going to place that right there. So now we have 2 layers of our earring. We're going to repeat this process again. Press Control and the letter D. I'm going to hold down Control. I'm going to pull down in on this corner, get it to about where I want, and zoom in up here a little bit. Press Control and grab it and move it right up to the top right there. And there we have our 3-layer earring. So what we need to do now is we need to create a hole in this earring for the hardware. So I'm going to come back over to the ellipse again, grab the ellipse. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to draw a small circle like so. I'm going to select it and come to millimeters. It should be anywhere from about 2 to 3 millimeters. So we'll say 2.5. Press Enter, and now we have our cutout for the hole. I'm going to bring this in here, and what I'm going to do with the circle selected, I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to grab this one right here. Okay, so now we have the 2 selected. We're going to come up here to the top, align this on the vertical centers. Saw that move over just now? So now we have these 2. Now at this point, what I'm going to do is just grab the circle, press Control and D to duplicate it, then again hold down Shift, drag over this one, move it out of the way. We now have one piece of it. Now I'm going to select the circle again, press Control and D, hold down Shift, select this one, and I'm going to move this one out of the way. And now you can see we have our 3 pieces of earring here, and all we have to do is, and what I usually do is I'll go ahead and group these so they never come apart and you don't screw up your hole in the earring. So now all we need to do is set our power and our speed over here to be able to cut that 1mm wood and cut these out, and we now have 3 different layers of this earring that you can design any way you want. You can paint them. You can use some paint and some mica powder, you know, to make them all sparkly, 3 different colors, whatever you want to do. And then all you do is just glue the 3 pieces together. Now, you see how simple that was to design this earring? And a lot of people ask me, well, you know, how do you design this stuff? And this is really just how simple it is. I think what I'm going to do real quick, one of my favorite earrings that I kind of like how it looks, and women love it, is the love earring. Speaking of love. So let me show you that one real quick before we move on. So I'm going to click right over here. I'm going to leave this in the Arial font, but I'm just going to go with the black instead. Okay. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to do L, enter, O, enter, V, enter, E, and that's it. And this is going to be our love earring. So let's make this about almost 3 inches tall, because we're going to make some changes to it now. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to turn off right up here where it says welded. Going to turn that off. And then what we're going to do is vertical spacing right next to it, right here. We're going to start lowering this vertical spacing until these lines overlap. And this is a very big selling earring, and I know that some of you have seen this already on the market. So there we go. Now we have our love earring. I know it doesn't look like an earring, but we've gone ahead and unwelded it up here, and what we're going to do instead is we're going to weld it over here on the left side. So we'll click on weld, and now do you see what we have there? There's our earring. And again, we can just take an ellipse, make ourselves another circle, look at it over here. 2 millimeters is good. Bring this up, hold down Control to get real good control over it, put it right there, and we now have our love earring. Now we have our earring finished for one side, or almost finished, because what we want to do is take a close look at this, and I think maybe this is too big at 2 millimeters. So let's make this 1 millimeter instead, because I think that would be too big. And another thing too is we have to get it centered. So let's grab our graphic right here, and let's move it like to the corner. Let me hold down Control so I get good control over it, and try and get it centered here. I'm centering it on these squares right here. See that? Alright, now I'm going to click off of it. I'm going to select the actual hole, and I'm going to move it to the middle. And I'm guessing that that's probably a good distance away right there. So now it's centered on this line. You see we have about 1 1/4 squares on each side. And that looks pretty good like that. Now all we'll do is select both and come up here and group it. And now we have one earring. So at this point all we have to do is press Control and D and move it off to the side, and you're all set. If you wanted to do this, let's say you were using 1 millimeter wood, then you would go ahead and make 4 of these and cut out 4 of these. The only thing left to do, set your speed and power and cut these out. You can use wood, you can use acrylic, you can use basically anything that you want, any material that you want to make these. And that's just how easy it is to make a pair of earrings. And the only thing is you want to just check your size. So we'll come back, and that's looks about right to me, about 1 3/4 inches high. I think that's probably a good size right there. If that wasn't a good size right there, then what I would do is delete one. All right, come over here to this one. So let's say you wanted it to be 2 inches high. So we'll come up here and we'll do 2 inches like that. And now the only thing left to do is ungroup this and check the size on the hole. Now on the hole 1 point, well, I guess that's still okay. 1 point, yeah, that's fine. So we'll just go ahead and group them again. you could change the size of the hole if you wanted to. Press Control and the letter D and move this one off to the side. You're ready to cut. And like I said, you can make 4 of these on any material you want. If you're using 2mm wood, I would suggest just the 2. If you're using 1mm wood, then I would suggest 2 for each side and glue them together. You get the idea. Now with that done, let's go ahead and move on to a more advanced project. So now you've got the basics. You've learned how to do 2 sets of earrings. And we're going to do, down here in the art gallery, I've got my very popular Mother's Day graphics that I did on Mother's Day. And we're going to learn how to do that next. So let's get started with that. So we'll go ahead and get rid of what's on the workbed here. And let me just bring in the image. If you remember, on Mother's Day, I did this 3-layer Mother's Day card, or I guess a plaque, or whatever it is that you want to call it. And it was a very, very popular video. A lot of people made these for their mothers on Mother's Day. I put the template out there with all of the files, and we're going to try and recreate this, or we don't actually have to recreate it, but I'm going to show you how I created it. So, and down here, this is the actual art library that I used. Let me bring out one, and the only reason I'm bringing this out is because I want to ungroup it, and I just want to steal this heart from it. So that's all I wanted to do, was steal this heart right here. You can, search online for the graphic of a heart and bring in a photograph and trace it, and you'll have the heart to work with. I just wanted to use the heart because I'm going to use that as my tool in several places on this. Let's get started. And the first thing we need to do is draw out the circle. I'm going to grab the ellipse over here, hold down Shift, and draw out a perfect circle. And then I'm going to select it. And then this sits in a base. And the base was, I believe the base was like maybe 4 inches or something like that. It doesn't really matter for this video. I'm just going to show you how I created it. So I'm going to now take a rectangle, and I'm going to come down here and draw out a rectangle, because this is going to have to be the slot that fits into the base. Now with this one selected, I'm going to hold Shift and select this one, and we're going to come up here, and we're going to line this on the vertical centers so that it's perfectly in the middle. And then now we've got our round piece of wood, and this will be the slot down here on the bottom. And you want to pay attention to measurements here. So we'll go ahead, and we need to know what the measurement is right here. You will need to know that. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to need to know it. But we're going to look at the measurement from here to here, and approximately. And it's like 15 millimeters, so that's too much. So what I would do is, we only want to have like maybe 3 layers of 2mm ply, so it's 6 millimeters. So what I'll do is just select it, hold Control, move it up with my up arrow like that until I think it's about in the right position. Maybe take another measurement. This is what you would do. Okay, so take another measurement from here. That's 9 millimeters. Still not right, but we're not going to worry about that. We just want to make sure that the distance is the right size for the piece that we're making. We're not actually making a piece today. We're just talking about designing. Okay, so let's go ahead and select both of these and weld those together. And now we have the base, the tab that fits into the slot. I don't know, I'm having trouble with words today. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do on the piece that we made, we had 2 hearts over here protruding from the side. So we're going to take this heart, and we're going to bring it, let's say like somewhere right around there. And then I'm going to press Control and the letter D to duplicate. I do a lot of duplicating, by the way, when I design these things. And I'm going to hold Control and make this one a little bit smaller, and position it maybe somewhere right around there or so. Maybe I'll bring this one down just a little bit, like that. And now we have our 2. So what I'm going to do now is come up across these 2 and weld those together. And then I'll select this one, I'll select this one and weld those together. Now we have our basic first layer. And of course you're going to size this as well. So let's say that we wanted to do a height of, 8 inches, for example. Do something like that. So now we have our first piece. And this is the base of the card. So we need to create 2 more pieces, but they have to be a little more unique than this. So what we're going to do now is, again, we're going to use Control and the letter D. And we're going to duplicate that one and bring it off to the side over there. Now this one we're done with. This one is going to be layer 1. There's nothing that needs to be put on here just yet. We just needed to make the base layer, and that is our base layer. So we'll scoot that off to the side. Now we're going to work on this one. And what we're going to do here is we're going to node edit this. So with it selected, we're going to come over here to the node edit tool. And then what we're going to do is zoom in a little bit right here. And you see this spot right here? I want to put a node right in the middle of these 2 nodes. So I'm going to pass my mouse anywhere over this line and press the letter M like that. Now you'll see that it just put a node right directly in the middle, and that's not really where I wanted. I could have done an insert somewhere else. I wanted to have it up a little bit higher, so let me undo that, and I think probably right here is where I'd want it. So I'm going to press the letter I to insert a node right there, and this is the node that I want right here. So with that node selected, I'm going to press the B key to break it. And if you take a look, you'll see that I just broke this apart. So you'll see that that is no longer part of this. So why did I do that? Well, because we're going to make a custom design out of this. And we're going to go ahead and pass our mouse over here, press the D key, and we're going to delete some of these nodes that we don't need just by passing our mouse over it and pressing the D key. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert a well, actually what I can do here, yeah, let me insert one in the middle like that, and I'm going to bring this one around like this, and I'm just going to take this smoothing handle and bring it up something like that. I think something like that may have been what I did in the initial design. And actually I think I did put, I'm going to press the M key right here. I'm going to put one here. I think I did something like this, and maybe like something like that. That looks about right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to press the I key again, and we've just inserted another node. Do you see it right there? So let me undo that so we can grab that node. And sometimes it's a little hard to get these nodes, so you just have to pull them out like that. So now I've got this node, and I'm going to bring this node down to about here. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to insert one here by pressing the I key. And this one I'm going to bring out something like that, and this one I'm going to bring down and bring it to like right about there maybe, and I'm going to insert the insert a node right here again so that I can fool with this design a little bit, and I'm going to maybe insert one more right about here like that, and then drag this one down here. And I'm going to bring that right to, right about there. And now this one, all I want to do is smooth this one out a bit, like that. And maybe I want to go the other way. Let me think. Maybe I want to come out like this instead. I think that's how I did it. I think I did a little protrusion right here, and just smooth that up just a little bit. And when you play with these handles, you can do a lot of smoothing with it. And I can move this node up like that. And that's something very similar to what I had. Okay? So now if we zoom way in, I think this was the one that we broke here. So we're going to just bring our zoom feature all the way in as far as we can zoom so that we can see where these two are, and there we go. They're both connected. So that's it. So we've got that connected, and this is our second piece now. So let's come to the selector tool. This is our second layer. Now what we have to do is take that heart now again. Oh, and I didn't make a copy of it. So let me bring that heart back out again. We're going to bring this back out again, select it, ungroup it. I'm just going to ungroup again, ungroup, ungroup, ungroup. We're just going to select this one right here. And we're going to get rid of these. I should have done this on some of the white space instead. We'll get rid of the rest of those. Alright, so now we have to do our other cutout, which goes right here. So in between these hearts, we're also going to have an edge. And let me show you how that works. Just going to bring this down a little bit like that. Put this in the middle. We're going to bring it down a little more. I'm holding control. That looks pretty good right there. So now I'm going to do control in the letter D. I'm going to bring this one down over here. And what I'm going to do is try and line it up pretty close to where we had it right there. Hold the control key. Bring this one down. Something like that. And I should have duplicated these before so that they're perfect. Because I picked the wrong one here. But basically what we're looking to do is just make a ridge around the outside where you can see through this. So now this piece is going to be all cut out. So this is our second piece here. Now what I'm going to do is just group these together. And guess what? Control and the letter D to duplicate a third one. And we'll bring that one out like that. So now we've got most of our pieces. And the only other thing, the one thing that I didn't do in the original video, I put the holding hands over here. But if I wanted to, I could ungroup this again. And I can duplicate this one. If, like, let's say, there were more children or something like that. And make that smaller so that that's a cutout. Duplicate that one. Bring it down here. Duplicate that one. Bring it down here. And, if somebody had like 5 children, or, maybe it would be mother up here, father over here, 3 children over here. That would be pretty much the design for 2 parents and 3 children. All right. So then we can group that. Now, this is pretty much finished. All 3 layers are right here. Now, this would be layer number 1, which is your base. This would be layer number 2, which fits right over layer number 1 like that. And this would be layer number 3, which fits over that one. Now, the only thing that you need to do here now is maybe a little design work. So if we take layer number 2 and 3, like that, we know that this is going to all be cut out. So at this point, what we would do, well, let's just bullseye these so that they're perfect. Well, now we have both layers here. So what we want to do is put our graphic on the bottom layer below. So no matter what it is, we can pick any graphic here, just for demonstration purposes. And let's say we put this graphic here, and then let me duplicate that, and we put it here, and duplicate it one more time and put it here. All right. So now what have I just done? This is not going to be duplicates. They're going to be all different things. You're going to put like names or something like that, right? So now let's grab this one and pull it off, and you'll see that there you go. That's where, this is where you we are only using this piece to align on top of this piece to know exactly where to put our graphics. Now we'll also use this piece to align over this piece. Okay. And hang on one second. Let me get this in the right spot. We'll align this one over this piece. Got to hold control to get real good, real fine control out of it. So now we know we can design over here what we need, whatever text we need to put over here. So, and let me give you an example. This is the original one that I showed you earlier. And let me just move this off so I can just delete them all at once, ungroup everything here. And let's just grab this, pull this off, and get rid of all this. So let's say that this is the text that we're going to use. Now we know, because we have this other template laid over the top of it, how big that we can make this. So we know that this has to be a little bit smaller, like that. And we know that mom has to be a little bit smaller, or whatever, you know, whatever text or graphics that you're using is. And now we've used this second layer as a guide, so we know where to put our text. And if we pull that layer off now, you'll see that we have all three layers that will all line up nicely to do our final board. And of course you have to make the base for it and everything else. We're not doing that today. I just wanted to show you how to make the layered graphic. So there you go. So let's see how what this looks like. Now this is the first layer here. It's got all this engraved, and this part out here is going to be cut like that. So we have cut on the outside, engrave on the inside. Then we have this piece is piece number 2, and I didn't group all these. Let me group those. This is piece number 2 that's going to be cut and engraved, and it's going to fit right directly over that one. And this is piece number 3 that's going to fit directly over that one. And there we have our final product. We have a 3-layer, and these may not be exactly aligned here, but when they cut out they will be exactly aligned. But here we have our 3-layer mom plaque, or it could be, you know, you could change this to family. You know, you could change it to family and have some sort of text over here, and of course in here you could have family pictures, or you can have names, you know, 3 kids and the mother and father. But there you go. That's how I made the mom plaque. And without looking at it, let me bring it up again. That's pretty close. You know, it's pretty close. If I didn't screw up the hearts, I should have made copies of those when we started. But I mean, that's pretty close. You know, so you can design this any way that you want and come out with a really quality product that people are going to love. There it is. That's our 3-layer design. And you can make as many of these layers as you want to. You're not just stuck to 3 layers. You could do 2 layers, you could do 3 layers, you could do 4 layers. You can get really creative with the things that are going to go on each layer. And as long as you use one template to line up another template, everything's going to work out perfectly. There's our base. Oh, and I didn't group this to the base. So let me scoot that back again and do this and group it. There we go. So now there's our base. Okay. And over here is our complete cutout piece. And over here are our little graphics. That's really how easy this is to do. And there are just so many things that you can do with this. This is just the start. All right, so we're done with the design. It was just so easy. I'm glad you stuck around. You know, I know this is a long video today, but it has to be long because I want to make sure that you learn everything there is to know about doing these things. You know, I'm not skipping different parts which leave you out in the cold where you can't make something. I want you to understand everything about it. So are you ready to take a look at the states? I've got those states done off the laser, and I'm ready to do the final reveal, part 3. Thanks for sticking around. Let's get started with the reveal on the states. I did Texas, Louisiana, and Wyoming. All right, so let's get into the final reveal, recap, whatever you want to call it. I've got some of the ones that I made today. Here is the Wyoming, and you can see the word Wyoming, the flag underneath, and then underneath that is the state. I don't know what that mark is. Oh, nothing at all. So here's our 3 layers. Now all we're going to do now is just paint these up, and that's it. Glue them together and you have beautiful state of Wyoming. Now some of the things that you might want to do differently on here is, you might want to get creative, maybe not just use paint. You can use mica powders and sparkles and all kinds of stuff like that. So that's a nice one. This is probably going to be the most popular one right here, the great state of Texas. And boy, I mean, it's just it's a beautiful piece. It really is. Now I might go around and clean up these edges a little bit. I think I burned this one a little too hot. Well, this is the Luan, and I put it on my plywood settings. That's why it probably burned a little bit too hot. But again, on top, we're going to have the state name, and the second one is going to be the flag. Look at these burnt, charred pieces. And the third one is just going to be the backing, the outline. So you can see all 3 different layers there. And really, this came out beautiful. So you can either, from this video, design your own one of these, or you can go stop by Keith's Etsy store and pick it up. And of course, I'm going to save the best one for last, right? So last but not least is the great state of Louisiana. And yeah, I made this one a little bigger. This one I'm actually going to finish. I am going to use some mica powders on this, as well as paint, and I'm going to hang it up on the wall. And it came out absolutely fantastic. I think it's just a great piece to display on the wall, and it's kind of heavy too. I used that. I think it's 3.5 millimeter Luan, or it might be 5 millimeter. I don't remember what it is. Yeah, it looks like 5 millimeter. But there you have it. This is just so easy to do, and you can do this with anything. Now I did. A lot of people liked my clocks that I did last year, and what I did in that one was I looked online and I found pictures. Actually, that was a patent search. That's right, that was a patent search. I went and did a patent search on a Swiss clock, and I wound up with one that had a lot of graphics. All of them have all the graphics built in, and I took those graphics and you can see by the graphics how the gears lined up, but the gears were separated. So I just traced those gears and put different gears on different levels, and boy, it just came out beautiful. So you can do that too. You can go to a patent search and you can search for things that mechanical things that you can, like I did with the Swiss watch, or Swiss clock movement, I think is what I searched for. I mean, there's so many things you can do. You can also, a lot of people don't realize, you can make beautiful shadow boxes with this as well, by putting different things on different layers. And the only thing that you need to make sure of is that one doesn't interfere with the other. And the way that you do that when you're designing your template, you saw, you lay the base on top of the next one. You only design in the area that's open. Lay the next two, put those 2 together, and then design the top around the first 2 layers. And it's just very simple. You use one layer as a base for the other one, put the other layer on top, and design only in the open spaces. And that's just how easy this is to do. Now, I've done some really complicated mandalas. I've done the compass, the rose compass. That one I did a few years ago. That one took about a week to design, the rose compass. I've had some that have taken 3, 4, and 5 days to design. And, those I mostly keep private, because many of them are just one-offs that I've done for friends or family or special occasions. and you know, it's sort of like a personal project. But you can get as creative as you want with these layered graphics, and there's just no limit to it. Once you've done this, and start small, you know, follow the video. Start with the earrings, you know, then do the Mother's Day, you know, just to get some practice in. And then think about what you might want to do and design your own template. And start simple. You know, I definitely want to tell you that. Start simple. Don't be going after a, you know, compass rose or anything like that. Start with something simple, maybe a Western scene, you know, on 3, 4, 5 different layers, something like that, where you start with a rectangle, and each layer has different features in it. One layer may have the moon and some stars, and the next layer may have the mountains, and the next layer may have, you know, a couple of bears walking through the woods and some trees, and the next layer on top on the other side might have a little cabin, you know, something like that. I mean, this is really very, very easy to do, and you can make some really, really nice stuff from this if you just take the time and put in the effort to do it. So there you go. I mean, we're designing graphics like a pro. You know, those earrings are going to come out beautiful. I'm actually going to do a video on earrings, not like the ones that I did here, but some cutout earrings with some epoxy fill that I think you're going to absolutely love. So ladies, look out for that one. You guys too, because they'll sell to the ladies. But anyway, what do you think? Leave your comments down below. Tell me what you think about the video. Let me know. Come over to the forum. Sign up, lahobbyguy.com/BB. That's for bulletin board. And it is an old style bulletin board. That's what I love about it. There's a section in there called Show Off Your Creations. You know, make some of these things. Come over there, post them up, show off your creations. I want to see what you do from, you know, learning from these videos, because that's my biggest satisfaction in making these videos, is hearing from people and seeing what they create. And I just can't tell you how good that makes me feel when somebody sends me an email and say, hey, I got a big seller at the craft show. I made $500 on this project this weekend. That really, you know, that's why I do this. I really enjoy seeing people become successful at this. So let me know down below what you thought about it. Come stop by the forum, sign up for a free account. There's over 13,000 members there. We're like a family. If you ask any questions, you're going to get an answer. You know, you can show off your creations over there. You can get tips and tricks. There's all kinds of free files and things like that. Come stop by, say hi, and join the family. So, as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.